Good afternoon. You are going to see this tape, and then you have the opportunity to see another two tapes, one from Dr. Wen and another from Dr. Reisen. They are very instructive regarding the COVID vaccine, the Moderna and the Pfizer. They are very explicit in their explanation of safety and efficacy. I'm going to be pragmatic. I am with no tie and with a short sleeve shirt because I have my second vaccine today. And this second vaccine went very well. I didn't have any side effects other than the soreness of the arm, like the first time. And that is the usual pattern of these vaccines. I received the Pfizer vaccine and I have no problems with it. The practicality of it is as follows. Everybody should receive the vaccine because you are protecting yourself, you are protecting your family, you are protecting the elder, and you are protecting the children who are not going to receive the vaccine because there's no experience for vaccination of children at this time. Therefore, you should be vaccinated, even if you have COVID before, because the immunity of COVID is not as lasting as the vaccine. You may have COVID twice. If you have COVID twice and you have not been vaccinated after having COVID the first time, oncology consultants will not cover you in your time off because you have the opportunity to receive the COVID vaccine. Most of us have been called to be receiving this vaccine, and this is a privilege, unfortunately. It should be the right of every American, but at this point, it's a privilege for us to receive this vaccine. We are called in to receive the vaccine because we are in the healthcare business. And such, we should protect ourselves to continue to serve our patients, and we should serve our patients attending them. Therefore, you have not only the duty to protect yourself, but the duty to protect the others. Oncology consultants is going to make it at a certain point mandatory to be vaccinated to continue to provide care of our patients. Otherwise, we are not going to serve them properly. The vaccine is safe, the vaccine is efficient, and is protective. Therefore, you must receive it. Do not try to reschedule because the schedules are very tight and you don't have the chance to come and go. If you are called to be having the vaccine, go ahead and get it. You have to do the schedule yourself. We are doing it through Methodist Hospital system and the Memorial Hermann system. Our HR is working diligently to invite you to be vaccinated. Therefore, please listen to the tapes of Dr. Wen and Dr. Reisen and be willing to be vaccinated because a vaccine not only protects you, protects your family, protects your patients, and this is the only way that we can get out of this mess. I hope you have a nice weekend.
Hello, this is Dr. Wen. I'm recording this message with the hope that I could convey to you that this COVID-19 vaccine that's available in the US today is safe and effective. And I also want to encourage you all, with very few exceptions, to get vaccinated as soon as possible. So first, let's talk about the vaccine, the technology, and what it means to be vaccinated. So a vaccine and vaccination is essentially a way that we introduce something into the body and to trick the body to think that we're infected and therefore trigger the body to mount an immune response. Vaccines of the past, we could only accomplish that by introducing part of the virus or sometimes the entire virus. This vaccine is very different. No component of the virus is introduced into the body. The technology here is a messenger RNA, which is a genetic code that is introduced into the body. This is a code that is engineered. It's produced and introduced into the body, and this code then is used by the body to produce a protein that resembles a protein on the virus. And that is enough for our immune system to think that we're infected and therefore mount an immune response. And the immune response is building antibodies and natural proteins that attacks and protects us from the virus. In that way, our immune system is ready when we truly are exposed to the virus and does not allow the virus to infect us and cause us harm. With regards to the vaccines that are available today and FDA approved in the US using this technology, there are two. There are the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine. Pfizer is a company based in New York. They produced this vaccine in conjunction with a company in Germany, and Moderna is based in Massachusetts. And both have been FDA approved. We have more information regarding the study that led to the approval of the Pfizer vaccine because it has already been published. The full study has been published in the New England Journal of Medicine, which occurred at the end of December and has been available for anyone and everyone to review. And so this led to the initial FDA approval. And in this study, almost 44,000 individuals were on the study. Half of them received the vaccine, half of them got the placebo. And it showed 95% of patients were protected from COVID as a result of the vaccine. So highly, highly effective. In terms of safety, it was also shown to be very safe. The common side effects were soreness at the injection site. Some folks had body aches, some folks had low-grade fever. And those are very common side effects of vaccination. Those are mainly signs that the vaccine is working, that is triggering an immune response. So the low-grade fever and the body ache, again, is a sign that immune system is responding and making the antibody, which is what we want. Now, since the study, we have seen reports of anaphylactic reaction. So this is where severe reactions have occurred, and it has. We have began to recognize this, and it's important to understand. So far, more than 3 million individuals have been vaccinated in the United States, and based on the reports, about 2 out of every million who has been vaccinated has had some form of anaphylactic reaction. And 90% of those individuals has had a history of anaphylactic reactions, and the majority of them carried EpiPens. So that's the population of patient where I think it is reasonable to exercise some caution whether or not you want to go ahead and do the vaccine now or wait for a little bit more information. Now, understand that the risk of anaphylactic reaction is very low, and mainly in individuals with a history of severe anaphylactic reaction. Remember, 2 out of a million. Now, think about on the flip side about the coronavirus today. Close to 4,000 individuals are dying daily in the United States, and close to 15,000 individuals are dying daily worldwide. Therefore, again, the vaccine is very safe, very effective, and given the active pandemic that's ongoing, we should be vaccinated as soon as possible.
Good morning and Happy New Year, Oncology Consultants. Dr. Risen reporting live from CCO. Hope everyone's doing well so far in 2021, and certainly excited for the new year and hope there are nothing but good things coming to us. I wanted to take a couple of minutes and talk to you guys about something that has obviously been a hot topic, and we spent a pretty rough year in 2020 dealing with the pandemic and trying to do as best as we could to get through it, and now we're in an exciting time that we have a vaccine available, but there's a lot of concern about it that I really wanted to address and maybe dispel some misconceptions about it, do a little education, and let you guys know that your physician leadership and people at Oncology Consultants are very much in favor of this vaccine, feel that it's very safe and something that we should all get. But I wanted to address some things very specifically. There's a lot of misconceptions going around about the vaccine, a lot of things that are flying around the internet as research and truths about the vaccine that really have no merit, and I just wanted to go through those things kind of one by one. So, first off, one of the things that I want you to know is that the physicians, we've been getting the vaccine, and a lot of other folks have been doing it as well through Methodist Hospital, through Herman Hospital. We have the vaccine available to our staff through those hospitals, and we certainly want you to get it. I'm getting my second vaccine this coming Monday. Got my first one almost 3 weeks ago, and really didn't have much of any side effects other than just a little bit of a sore arm. But there's a lot of stuff that people are worried about, and a lot of people have been bringing concerns to my attention that I've been trying to address. So there was a really large clinical trial that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, which is one of the biggest journals that presents medical research. So the Pfizer vaccine, which has been now available for some time, published a very large clinical trial that was a trial of about 43,000 people who either received vaccine or placebo. At the end of the day, about 18,500 people actually received the vaccine. And so, really to address one of the first concerns is that we don't know what's going to happen. So I hear that comment quite a bit. Let me wait and see what happens to folks getting this vaccine. The truth is we already know. So between this Pfizer clinical trial, 18,500 people. Moderna is the other vaccine that's become available that's gained authorization under the FDA. So their trial hasn't been officially published yet, but is also a very large number of folks. Just putting that in perspective a little bit, in oncology, we give obviously very strong medications, chemotherapy, and those are all based on clinical trials. And the decision that these drugs are not only safe, but effective are based on clinical trials where oftentimes we're looking at people in the hundreds sometimes included in these trials, maybe in the thousands. Very rarely do we see clinical trials that are as large as 43,000 people. And so the science is excellent there. I've read the clinical trial cover to cover, as have a lot of the other folks, a lot of the other doctors have really kind of gone through that pretty carefully, and the research is really good. One of the other big things that I keep hearing is that this was rushed through, that this was a trial that was done very quickly, and so how do we know that it's accurate? And the truth is that it really wasn't rushed through. The science part of it was done in a very orderly and proper fashion. What was done in a more quick fashion is some of the bureaucracy that surrounds research. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of red tape that people have to go through in doing clinical trials and getting things from trial to the real world. And a lot of that was shortened, but the clinical trial itself was not done in a rushed or hasty fashion. It was done in a very scientifically proper and sound way. Bring the other most common point I hear is, well, I'm really worried about side effects. What bad things can happen to me from this vaccine? And the side effects are really very manageable and very minimal. So if you look at this clinical trial, the majority of the side effects were very minor. And, obviously not to say that there are not side effects. With any vaccine, one of the things that we see is that your body develops an immune response. That's how we get immune to this virus, is by our body developing antibodies against it. And sometimes that causes some mild side effects. So the most common things that were seen were people had mild fatigue, soreness at the site of injection, low-grade temperatures, and body aches. And those were seen in a fair percentage of people, but the risk of having serious side effects was very, very small. In comparing it to some other vaccines that are given commonly, just one example is one of the side effects I looked at was something like severe fatigue, limiting day-to-day activity, and comparing that to something like the shingles vaccine. So the incidence, the amount that happened with the COVID vaccine was actually lower than what was seen in something like the shingles vaccine. So all in all, the safety profile was excellent, and the risk of having serious effects from it was tremendously low. One of the things they did look at was people with severe allergic reactions, who've had anaphylactic reactions or use an EpiPen. And that's something that's definitely important. There is a myth that people with egg allergies, for example, should not get the vaccine. There are no egg products or anything like that in that vaccine. But people who've had serious allergic reactions and do use an EpiPen for that certainly need to consult with their physician before actually getting the vaccine. Those still thought to be safe. So from a side effect standpoint, we don't really worry too much about that, and I'll take a sore arm any day to be immune against this thing. So then, one of the other myths is that when you get this vaccine, that it's going to change your DNA, that it's going to alter your own makeup, and that's not true at all. The way that this vaccine was developed was actually using a part of the genetic material of the virus itself, which is called its messenger RNA, but it has nothing to do with your own genetic makeup, and it's not going to change that at all. That's just how your body identifies this as kind of a foreign substance and develops the antibodies against it. There are lots of kind of conspiracy theories about tracking and nanoparticles and microchips. That's probably one of the most absurd things I've heard. There's certainly no government tracking involved in this vaccine. There's just no merit to that. I'm not even sure entirely where that came from. Trust me, if we're getting monitored, it's more by our cell phones than anything that's being injected in our arms. But there's absolutely no merit to that. Another thing that has no merit, and one of the things that steered people away, is something that's been kind of tossed around, that there's fetal embryonic tissue in the vaccine, and that's just simply not true. Again, a myth that kind of came from the internet and it's been spread around social media and such, but really has no truth. There's a comment that I hear that, well, this COVID has a low mortality rate, so why do we need to put ourselves at risk? And that's something that I think really is a very poor way of talking about COVID. Sure, percentage-wise, most people who get COVID do not die. But, even if we're talking about a very low percentage number, it's still a large number of people that are dying every day. So just as an example, yesterday, 4,000 plus people died of COVID in the United States. And if we put that in perspective, that's tremendously higher than the number of people who die from lung cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, all the other things that we see per day. It's more than double the number of people that die of cardiovascular disease every day. And just from a historical perspective, is one of the deadliest days in the history of the United States. And we're actually having historically deadliest days in the history of the United States almost every single day. So this virus is tremendously lethal, and something that we need to do our best to stop. And one of the only ways we can do that, beyond our social distancing, wearing masks, and taking the precautions we've already been doing, is to take this vaccine. And the vaccine is not only to protect ourselves, but to start to protect our community against the vaccine and reduce the spread, which is running rampant. Our numbers as far as COVID right now are worse than they've been almost ever. And so what we're seeing is, we'll have these spikes of COVID, it'll get better, we'll go through periods like Thanksgiving, like Christmas, where there are a lot of social gatherings, and then you'll see big peaks again. And we're almost running in this vicious circle. We need to stop that circle. And so again, strongly encourage people to get vaccinated. So what happens if you've had COVID before? Well, why should I get vaccinated? I've already had COVID, shouldn't I be immune? And the truth is, unfortunately, the immunity to COVID from being infected, which which we call natural immunity, doesn't last. And we've seen quite a few cases of people getting second infections from COVID. So strongly would recommend, even if someone's had a COVID infection, to still get the vaccination. So then, if I get vaccinated, why do I need to wear a mask? Well, the truth is the vaccine doesn't necessarily prevent us from being carriers of the virus. We could still theoretically be infected with it, just not get sick, but pass it on to others. So wearing a mask continues to be extremely important. And beyond that, nothing's 100% effective. Even if there's 95% efficacy of these vaccines, it's still a small percentage that you could get sick. So continue to wear a mask. I know that's a lot of information, but I really wanted to help educate people and tell you how important we think this is. Not only how important, but how safe we think this is. I would like to see everybody in Oncology Consultants get vaccinated. I think it's tremendously important for all of us. Thinking about not only yourself, your family, your community, and the people that we take care of every day. And so, with that, I just wanted to let everybody know that if anybody has any questions, any concerns, I myself am more than happy to talk about it. I certainly am happy to sit down and chat with you about specific concerns. Any of the other folks in leadership would be happy to do so. Any of the other physicians would be happy to. And please approach us. But get vaccinated. It's going to be a wonderful thing. It's going to make our 2021 and the future beyond that extremely bright, and happy to help out in any way I can. So everybody have a wonderful day, wonderful weekend. Happy New Year to you, and we will talk very soon. Take care.